Ed Pearson, thanks very much for joining me. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. It's great to be able to talk to people in the build up to the season. And there was a big story recently with you being the first driver to try the new F4 car. We've got a brand new car for this year. So, first question, how was that?
Um, Tough because I haven't been in the car for 3 months. I mean, the last time I was in a car, any car, was last round of the championship in Ginetta's. But yeah, it was very intriguing to work with the team for the first time and with the new car.
Was there any pressure on you you're probably aware you were the first person in the UK to drive it, and Brands is a good technical circuit. I mean, they're all technical in their own way, but any pressure?
No, not really.
That's a good straight answer, but
Yeah.
wonderful to get in that car for the first time. And first of all, how do you get involved with a new team? Because you moved from juniors, and we'll talk about juniors a little bit later on. But how did you find the new team, and tell us a bit about them?
So Virtuosi was, I mean, as many people say, it's the best team that no one's heard of. Um, I mean, I hadn't heard of them really till probably beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
And when they approached us, we said we'll come talk. And after that, I mean, after we started talking to them, it was a clear yes that they were. I mean, they're so dedicated to winning. I mean, I've never seen it. I mean, I've been with some great teams in the past, but I've never seen such dedication to winning.
That's really good to hear. And of course, there's an extremely tangible link, isn't there, up the FIA ladder, because they're in FIA F2 with ex-F4 driver Jack Doohan. So our viewers will know that name. They've got Reno Sato, I think, as a teammate as well. And I'm guessing you'll be hooking up with those guys through the course of the season as well.
I'm going to guess so. I don't know the plans on that, but I'll find out soon.
What's the testing schedule like for you in this new F4? Obviously, the shakedown of the new cars happened.
So I'm actually at a room 10 minutes from Brands. I'm testing tomorrow, and then I'm at the day after. But there's quite a lot of testing. We have to get as much as we can in because it's not just me learning; it's the team. I mean, they're new to F4 totally, so and also used to the weather conditions. I mean, F2s you're mainly in warm conditions like Abu Dhabi and stuff like that. So we're all learning, and that's why we're trying to get as much testing as possible.
And prior to that first go in the car, you mentioned you've been out of the car for 3 months. What can you do? I suppose the obvious answer is going to be that you might have done some sim work, but what can you do as a teenager to get car time or driving time during the winter?
You see, sim is the obvious answer to that, but it's a tough one. I mean, we were meant to try and get testing in January. Took a while. I think the first day was like end of January, but I mean, we were the first car out. We could have maybe gone a bit earlier, but it was just trying to make sure that everything was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a tough couple of months because I mean, racing is my life, so it was quite tough not doing anything. But at the same time, it's quite nice to have a break. So I sort of look at that as I had like a 3-week break and then I got back into sim. But other than that, you can't really do a lot, sadly.
The end of the season, obviously, Brands Hatch, we had the Grand Prix circuit. A successful meeting for you in Ginetta Juniors, and let's just backpedal a little bit and talk about what was a rookie season for you in juniors. Again, how did what was it about Ginetta Junior that captured your imagination to come and race with us last year?
Ginetta was an interesting championship. I loved it, loved every moment of it, except one or two incidents. But I mean, everyone has a couple. I mean, we came there as the opportunity to learn just about the car, learn about driving a car, not a kart. That was the main reason. And I mean, we couldn't really do anything else at that time. I mean, I could have stayed in senior karting, but me and my dad said, I mean, what's the point? You better learn. It's better to learn the tracks than be going around some random kart circuit in Europe.
And even without the crowds at the early part of the season, it's a fantastic environment, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. I really enjoyed last year. Such great fun. Especially, I mean, me and Rob DeHaan had a great relationship and we really enjoyed last year.
I wanted to come to that because, Rob was your teammate at Richardson Racing last year. He had a a great season, having won the scholarship last year. He's making a habit of it, isn't he? Because he's got an F4 scholarship. We may or may not see him in Britain. His dad was very enigmatic about that and said that he might do some rounds with us in the UK. So that'd be interesting to see. But what did you learn from Rob?
I learned a lot from Rob. I mean, stuff on the track, obviously, and some other weird things. But, I mean, we had great fun. And, I mean, he taught me a lot about just car control and stuff. But it was mainly from my driver coach. But, I mean, we learned last year that the first 2 rounds, it took us a while to get the towing and the teamwork right.
Yeah.
But when we got it right, that's why we were faster at the end of the season. Because we got it right and we got qualifying right. And then when you get qualifying right, it just makes it a whole lot easier.
When I'm walking around the paddock, which the last couple of years hasn't been very much due to COVID, sadly, but when I do get the chance to go in the paddock, Richardson's always a friendly team. How was your year? Was it that way for you?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are amazing. They've always been happy, smiley. That's what they are. It was a tough year because the first 4 or 5 rounds, we just couldn't get the car. And then actually after the accident, we changed car and it just made it a lot better. Changed engine and everything, and it just made it, I mean, when I went to Knock Hill, I was sort of on the pace. I remember when I had the crash at Brands, Indy, coming down the hill, we got another car, we got the spare car, and then we borrowed an engine from Ginetta, and instead of being last in the speed traps, I was 8th. And that sudden change just made it a whole lot easier for me. Instead of coming from 20th through the pack, maybe coming 10th, I'll be starting 5th, maybe 12th, and maybe finishing in the top 10, which is much easier for me.
So that was a bit of a watershed moment. And again, fast forwarding on to the last round of Brands Hatch GP, outright podium as well. So it was a super way to exit the Formula.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a very emotional day for everyone. I mean, I remember as soon as I got out the car, even Rob went, how did you get a podium? Because he was surprised that because I think I started, well, he actually started behind me, but he overtook me on the first lap because he went around the outside and I went on the inside. But that day was very special for me.
It was great for us to see as well, and a great stepping stone for you for this year into F4. Backpedaling a little bit more, you mentioned karting. Are there any drivers that you were racing with in karts that you've ended up racing against in juniors and then also maybe in F4?
Well, there's one that's entering F4 this year. I've known him for a very long time, Daniel Ginchard, Argenti Motorsport. I've known him probably since 2016. He wasn't actually an old teammate, but I've just known him for so long, and I think I really rate him as a driver. I really do. Other drivers that I raced, I raced against Rob for a couple of years in Europe. Who else? I raced Josh Rowledge, Callum Voisin. Actually, he used to race in my old team, but he was in Rotax and I was in X30.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people from karts who've come through the ranks.
Does it make it easier when you're racing against somebody you've already been with on track a while?
Well, no, because then if I've been against them in Europe, they're normally very good. So it's tougher, really. And even though I might know their sort of style of driving, you never know what they're going to do.
And then on to F4. Again, so you've mentioned about the testing. What are the other preparations in terms of, have you got backers? Are you family funded for your racing this year? So what's the complete package like?
So I have a sponsor called Sherwin-Williams, who's probably the biggest paint company in the world that not many people have heard of. But what do you prefer, Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Well, they paint them all. They paint every single Coke and Pepsi can.
Really?
In the world. Yeah. And I think they do most of the automotive paint, everyone. So, but I have a feeling they sponsor Mercedes. I think they do. But yeah, they came to us actually, and that was a great opportunity to work with Sherwin, and I'm excited for the future with them. And then the rest, I think we might get 1 or 2 more sponsors, but we're working on it. It's tough to get sponsors. Once you get them for the first time, it's easier from then because then they know who they're working with, they know what they're getting. but the first time is probably the toughest.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think this year, once they see the crowds back out from the word go, it's going to be a lot better. And a statistic that I roll out seemingly every interview is about the touring car meetings being the equivalent or the average of the Premiership football crowd. So it's a premier event, isn't it, for anyone who wants to get involved commercially?
Oh yeah, it's perfect for that. I mean, and also the ITV4. I mean, ITV4 brings in so much more. I mean, I remember when they first came to us and they said, "How do we watch it?"
Yeah.
They didn't know it was on the BTCC. I said ITV4, and they were shocked that even though we're so young, we're on ITV4 straight away.
So first round is Donington Park. So what are the specific preparations for Donington, and what are your thoughts on your racing at Donington last year?
I love Donington. I really do. It's probably one of my favourite circuits on the calendar, so it's good to go there first. It's one of those circuits that it's just about being smooth, taking your time. And if you're smooth and you don't push too hard, it'll just flow, and you'll just get, your lap will be crazy.
It's a great place to go and start. And again, I quite like the fluidity of changing rounds, because we're used to going to Brands generally first and last, and we've got Brands at the end of the year again. But Brands is the second one, a couple of Thruxtons as well. So favourite track out of all of them?
Well, in the Ginetta, Knock Hill was my favourite. But that's in the Ginetta. I mean, I don't think I'll be sending it over the curb in the F4 car. But I think probably in the F4, from what I'm seeing, I think my favourite track probably will be Donington or Brands.
I'll be interesting to see how the racing unfolds. When do you get your first go at maybe working with someone else in the car, and maybe getting the opportunity to practice passing and things like that? Because when you're at Richardson, obviously you mentioned about the drafting in the juniors, which is something that you practice, get to grips over the course of the season. One of the things you've got to do is learn how to pass. And will you get the opportunity in testing to do that in F4?
Well, I mean, I don't have a teammate at the moment. I think I have an idea who it might be.
Yep.
But we don't really know when it's going to be official. I mean, I think we might have got this. I don't know when we're going to get the second car. But when we do, that means it's easier to say, okay, we've got the car. Here comes the second driver.
Yeah.
Once we get the second driver, we'll be able to work on that.
Did you test the old F4 car as well, or have you literally just jumped in? This is the first single-seater race car you've been in?
I tested it once with Richardson.
Yeah.
And it was a good couple of days. I mean, I wasn't far off the reigning champion, so I was very happy.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So good confidence for this year. So an exciting new team, and again going back to the fact that Virtuosi are in FIA F2, is that real tangible link, isn't it, with F1, and that for me kind of sets the F4 Championship within the Toka package apart. That there is that link. And we've got obviously people like Lando Norris who've gone through Ginetta Juniors like you have, and then on to Formula One. So it is achievable, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's so much. I mean, now it's officially FIA, because it wasn't really FIA before, like last year. Now it's officially FIA. We're on the same car as Europe. It's going to be, I think it's actually going to be easier than it was when Lando was racing.
Yeah.
Get into Euro, Formula, FIA F3, F2, and then F1.
And that's the plan?
That's the dream. But I mean, dreams never, they don't always come true. I mean, I've got a very, I'm looking at everything else. I mean, after F2, you could go do LMP, you could go do Formula E, you could go back to BTCC, but I don't think that when you've gone that far, maybe BTCC isn't right for you because you've been doing rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
If you're going to do BTCC, I think you don't do Ginettas, or maybe do Ginettas, but then you go do something like Fiesta, because then you get used to front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Quite tough to go from a single-seater to BTCC. That's why I think it's more likely I would be doing a GT, maybe like GT3 at Le Mans or LMP at Le Mans, and then Formula E, which I think it's, at the moment, I think it's great that they're pushing it, and I love the racing. I mean, I watched the latest one and I thought it was a great race, but it's got a couple of years till it's like up with F1.
Yeah.
But in a couple of years, I think it'll be very good, and I'm very intrigued to see how that goes.
That's good. Obviously, out of the driving seat, you're 15 years of age. You've got studies. Where do you study, and how's that going?
So I go to Radley College in Oxford. I struggle at school. I really do. But I'm trying my best. The teachers help me a lot. And the main thing is I'm getting the results now, which is the main thing. And the aim is just to get the results. And then, I mean, my dad has the thing that I do miss a lot of time for racing, but it doesn't mean I can't have a good education. There are a lot of kids who, I mean, a couple of kids have gone to Dubai for 3 weeks, stuff like that. I mean, I could have gone to Dubai.
Yeah.
It could have been a good opportunity, but me and my dad and the team said, I mean, what's really the point? I mean, you're going out there to test on the wrong tyre in the different heat.
Yeah.
And you're racing people that you're not going to race. So we sort of didn't see that was really our way. And also I'm missing too much school. And my dad thinks school's helping me, and I do agree with him. It's perfect for me. I mean, I bored. So I sort of get that living alone thing.
Yeah.
So I don't, when I go racing, I don't always have to go with my parents or stuff like that. And that's quite nice, personally.
I was going to ask about that because we see a lot of mums and dads come. Sometimes the mums and dads just let the youngsters get on with it. Yeah, do you have both of them or either of them with you most weekends?
So my dad comes always.
Yep.
He's always there. And then my mum is scared, which I understand.
I get that.
She comes once or twice, you know, to see. I mean, she came to the first test day at Brands, and she didn't really expect it to be that fast. She was like, crikey, that's really fast. And but when she doesn't come, I always have my old mechanic, who's my godfather.
All right.
And he's always with me, George, and he's basically my second dad, so he's always there.
And has he been around the industry very long?
He's been in the industry. I mean, he was car mechanic for years, worked with some of the best teams. I mean, he actually used to work for my dad about 30 years ago, so that's how we really met him in the karting world. And I mean, I think he's probably been in the racing industry since he was about 20, and he's 50 now.
Yeah.
So he's been in it a long time, and he has a lot of experience. So I really do value his time. He's a great guy.
Thanks for the insight into yourself, the little bit of history we had as well, and to this year. And look forward to seeing you on the grid. Ed Pearson, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Richard.